to the Chronicles, told by the Rorqual. Cases of the missing, murdered, and unsolved. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today, and don't forget, all source information for today's case can be found at thecertifiedrorqual.com. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's get started with Chronicle number 47, the Shannon, Rena Green, and David Dewayne Bell case. Journey back to 1986. Office Depot was founded in Florida. Microsoft went public. NES launched The Legend of Zelda, and A&W Cream Soda was created. Family Ties, Cheers, and the Golden Girls were taking over network television. And Chuck Hall would patent the first 3D printer. 1986 had so much to offer, but for the families of two teenagers, it would only bring pain and sorrow, as Shannon had vanished on a summer day in July, and just 5 days later Dewayne would disappear. Had the two teens run off together, or was something far worse at play? Shannon, Rena Green, was a bright 16-year-old with her whole life ahead of her. She stood 5 foot 4 inches and weighed 110 pounds. Shannon lived in Owensboro, Kentucky, where she got good grades and had a steady boyfriend at Owensboro High School. On July 6, 1986, at 12:30 p.m., Shannon would tell her mom she was going to John Edgar Rainier's home. He was a 39-year-old family friend with quite a criminal past. Shannon left 907 West 2nd Street and headed out to John's home located at 1430 Haynes Avenue, just 2 miles from her own home. His home was known as a hangout spot, and most of the teens could be found there at any given time. The walk should have only taken Shannon 45 minutes. However, she never showed up at John's home. When Lois, Shannon's mom, woke up the next morning, she discovered her daughter had not returned, and immediately phoned the police to report her missing. The police believed Shannon had run away, like they did in most missing teen cases back then. 2 days would go by, and Lois would receive a phone call from someone claiming to be named Dewayne. He said he and Shannon had run off to get married, then ended the call with no further explanation. The only person Lois could think of with the name Dewayne was Shannon's 18-year-old friend named David Dewayne Bell. He went by his middle name, Dewayne. Dewayne and Shannon had been at John Rainier's home the night before she vanished. Dewayne would vanish on July 11, 1986, just 5 days after Shannon vanished. Police would say the call made to Lois was more than likely someone calling to try to throw them off the trail, as both teens had vanished, and someone wanted police and Lois to believe they had run off together. Ironically, Shannon and Dewayne were not the only ones to vanish from Owensboro, Kentucky that year. Mary Ethel Dickens was a 23-year-old who went by the name Angie. She had been out with a couple of friends at a bar on the night of June 17, 1986. The friends who she had been out with that night would drive Angie back to the Owensboro Motor Inn where she was living at the time. When the friends pulled out, they witnessed Angie talking to 2 men in an older model car. This was the last time she was ever seen alive. On October 2, 1986, Angie would be found by a hunter just 2 miles outside of Owensboro in a cornfield. Her body was so badly decomposed the coroner was unable to list a cause of death, but would say foul play was involved. Her case is believed to be connected in some way to Shannon and Dewayne's disappearances. Some online sleuths believe the men she may have been talking to that night were David Lee Bell, which was Dewayne's father, and Dewayne Bell himself. Angie's case, like Shannon's and Dewayne's, has never been solved. When the police told Lois they believed her daughter had run away, she knew this was not possible. She had left all of her belongings behind. Shannon was happy at home and had no reason to run away. The police would question John, and initially he would say Shannon had called him that morning, but she had never shown up to his house that day. There were no leads on either missing persons case. David Bell had moved with his 20-year-old girlfriend to Tucson, Arizona, a few weeks after his son vanished. Most people thought this was odd he left so quickly. However, his explanation for this was he had to move for work. When Dewayne went missing on July 11th, just 5 days after Shannon, the police wanted to talk to David Bell. David told police he and Dewayne had gotten off of work and headed over to Dewayne's sister's home to do some work, and as they were standing there, David asked his son if he had a problem, to which his son said no. Dewayne then asked his dad to borrow some money. David said he handed Dewayne $80 and watched his son ride his bicycle down the alley, and that was the last time he was seen again. The police would find many inconsistencies with David's versions of events, as police had found Dewayne's bicycle leaned up against a fence in his sister's yard near the alley. Dewayne loved his bike and never left it anywhere. This indicated to police Dewayne may have not left on his own accord. Before Dewayne vanished, he had called John Rena on the 9th and told him he needed to speak to him in person about something. John agreed to meet with Dewayne. However, John was a very paranoid person and believed Dewayne could be wearing a wire. He knew the police were trying to pin Shannon's disappearance on him, and he wanted to make sure to cover his tracks, so he wired himself to record the conversation he had that night with Dewayne. Now I will read the transcript of the conversation between John and Dewayne that night. John Rena: what's going on? Dewayne Bell: aw, nothing. Got any money I can borrow? How much? I might have a few dollars. Dewayne: about a couple hundred anyway. To which John Rena replied, shit, I ain't got no $200 I wish I did have. Dewayne: I need it pretty bad. I need to get out of town. Why's that? Dewayne Bell: I done something the other day. I need to get out of town for a while. Me and her been into a fight for a while, and I just got pissed off. John Rena: did you beat her up? Dewayne: yeah. John: hell, the other day apparently she ain't going to tell on you or she done been in trouble. To which Dewayne replies, it's worse than that. I mean, I hurt her real bad. Hurt some others too. I need to get out of town pretty bad. John Rena replies, who all did you hurt? Dewayne: it's a girl and a kid. John replies, a kid? Dewayne: yeah. John: hadn't nobody called the police on you yet? Dewayne: nah, there's another girl. I hurt her pretty bad too. John replies, well, how come ain't nobody been to the police on you? What in the hell are you trying to do? Just get a hold of a little bit of money? Trying to talk me out of it? Dewayne: no, I'm telling you the truth. Well, I'm going to tell you the truth. They can't go to the police. To which John replies, why can't they? To which Dewayne replies, because I killed them. John: where did you kill them at? How come there ain't no bodies showed up or nothing? To which Dewayne replies, well, I hid them pretty good. John: you hid them good? Dewayne: yeah. John Rena replies, hid them where? You ain't gonna tell me where you hid them. I don't blame you. I wouldn't tell neither. Dewayne says, I put them in a cornfield. To which John replies, damn, man, you are scary. If you were telling the truth, I don't know what to tell you. If you were lying, I don't know about no GD lie like that either. I don't want to be involved in that. How come you come to me with this shit anyway? To which Dewayne replies, I don't know. I needed money. That is the end of the first conversation. It would be 20 years later when the tape came to light, as it had been misfiled in 1986 and archived away. It was found in the early 2000s when a cold case unit decided to take a fresh look at the case. In doing so, they re-interviewed John Rena, and this time around he was ready to tell about what Dewayne had told him. John would tell them of the tape recording and how the next day at work he told John he was going to take him and show him where she was buried, to which Dewayne said, okay, and that night they went to a cornfield where John claims Dewayne dug up the body of Shannon Green. He then claims that Dewayne drove him to another cornfield about 2 miles away and said he had buried Angie Dickens there and showed him. He then told John of a girl and a child he had killed and pointed to a ditch and said they were buried over there. Dewayne would give no more information to John about the girl and child he claimed to have killed from Tennessee. Dewayne told John Shannon to come to see him, and they got into an argument. When she screamed and went to leave, his dad intervened and pinned Shannon to the ground and had Dewayne choke her. He said he kept telling him to do it harder until she was dead. His dad then helped him bury the body in a cornfield. He then told John he and Angie had come to the cornfield to fool around, and something went wrong, so he killed her. John was in disbelief of what he was hearing. John would call David and tell him they needed to meet and talk. David would agree. When the two met, John played the recording for him. David would confirm to police he heard someone who sounded like Dewayne on the recording. However, he maintains that neither his son nor him killed anyone. John told police after David heard the tape, he said he needed to talk to Dewayne. That was the night of July 11th, and Dewayne has not been seen since. John Rainier said he would take a polygraph and talk to the family about what he knew. John passed the polygraph and would talk to Shannon's aunt, who believed he was telling the truth. David would be asked about that night. He said he heard parts of the tape, and he had gone off to look for his son that night, but could not find him. He assumed the rumors were true, that he had run off with Shannon. He then moved to Arizona for work, eventually moving back to Owensboro, Kentucky. He would tell police after work on July 11th his son seemed quiet and anxious. When police found the tape and evidence, they seemed to be sure John was telling the truth. However, nowhere on the tape does Dewayne mention anyone by name. This would be enough to search the cornfield where John claimed he saw Dewayne digging her body up at. An extensive search was done and nothing was found. However, police believe at some point Shannon may have been buried there and then moved to a different location. Nearby cornfields were searched as well. They turned up nothing, and it appeared they were no closer to solving the case once again. David Lee Bell would pass away in 2015, taking with him whatever knowledge he had of his son and Shannon Green's disappearance. This is a case with many variables and twists and turns. It's not one missing person, but two, and one young lady who was found murdered. Could 18-year-old Dewayne have committed these murders? And if so, was he acting alone, or was his dad David involved as well? Did David help his son escape Kentucky, or did he do something far worse to his own son, as to not reveal his involvement in the crimes? What role did John Rainier play in this case? Was he just an innocent bystander in all this? Some tend to believe so, as John claimed he was going to kill David and Dewayne for killing Shannon, but he never got the chance. It should be noted that an area was searched 6 months after Shannon was reported missing. Lois had received another call. This time, the unidentified man told her he had heard Shannon was killed and buried in a garage on Triplet Street. The caller then stated he would call back for the reward money. The area was searched and turned up no sign of Shannon. Who was this caller? Could it have been a prank, or was it someone who felt guilt and wanted to steer them in the direction of where they thought the body might be? These are questions that may never have answers. If you have any information on Mary Ethel Dickens, also known as Angie, please call the Kentucky State Police, Post 16, Henderson, at 270-826-3312, or email ksp.webmaster@ky.gov. If you have any information on Shannon Rena Green or David Dewayne Bell, please call the Owensboro Police Department at 270-687-8888. And let's bring closure to these families. As always, like this video, share, and hit that subscribe button so I can continue helping families of the missing, murdered, and unsolved. As always, this is the Chronikle, signing off.